What's going on there, folks? Good morning. It is the Earthmaster here on this finally Friday, January 27th. It's about 10:40 a.m. here along the west coast in California. The latest quake on the globe shows a 1.2 earthquake here into the area of Southern California. We have seen a return of deeper earthquake movement out around the Fiji area, and also a little bit of activity around South Island, New Zealand. Let's go ahead and start off first here with the Yellowstone area. I'm having a little bit of swarming kicking up here around the northwest corner of the park, Maple Creek area. Seen a little handful of earthquakes. There's not a whole lot being reported on the USGS map here. Let me show you guys real quick. A lot of times they don't get to these earthquakes, but it looks like they've listed, well, a couple, but the majority of these are from yesterday. The ones we're looking at overnight and this morning have not been counted yet. A little handful of earthquakes popping off here. Again, centered right around the northwestern segment of the park there at Yellowstone. Not a big swarm, but a little bit of an uptick. All right, taking a look at earthquake activity across the broader view here. There's some of that movement down into the Fiji area, getting some deep earthquakes once again. Couple mid-4s down there, below 500 kilometers. Also further west here, getting a little bit of migrational movement here around the Java Trench. Looks like a couple 4s coming in. The majority of these from yesterday. It looks like one late last night. Further up north, still lacking activity around the India area and throughout the Himalayas. A glance at the EMSC model here confirms that. Some of this activity here, older movement from yesterday, should be getting ready to drop off the globe there for the 24-hour threshold. But still positioned right here as far as that westward pressure movement at the northern end of the Java Trench. There's that activity around the Molucca Sea once again. Looks like a 3.5 and a 4.6 coming in. And a little cluster of swarming about mid to southern end of the Java Trench with a couple 4s and some 2s kicking off. That activity not showing up here across the map, but it's centered right around this area. Further west, getting some further activity, it looks like, around the Mediterranean region. 4.2 coming in pretty recently this morning time period. See what we got. Nothing showing up here across the USGS map. But there is some definitely some activity occurring. That 4.2, we'll check this out, see exactly where it's at. From the EMSC, Central Mediterranean Sea region, coming in just a little bit ago for that 4.2, 10 kilometers deep. Now, getting a pretty good swarm of activity off the coast of, let's bring this up here, EMSC model map, and I'll show you guys this little swarming area. Come over here a little bit. Just right around this region here, off the coast and northward. Show you guys here real quick. Looks like this is going to be around the Canary Islands area. I know there's volcanic activity around there. Looks like that may be starting up again. Quite a few 2s kicking off here within the last few hours around the Canary Islands, Spain region. Again, there's a couple different volcanoes. Let's see. Let's see. I know USGS isn't reporting that activity, but might have to keep an eye on that. It looks like that activity is occurring in between this zone here. Depth is pretty deep, so may not be volcanic, although something could be occurring down there, way down there, about 46 kilometers or so below this area. Some pretty deep activity occurring. We'll have to watch that for some potential movement there in the volcanic states. All right, let's see. Atlantic Ocean, seen some activity yesterday. Nothing popping up here so far today. Down south, about the same. Nothing showing up on the USGS map. Just for verification, we'll go ahead and check out the EMSC model, and that's verified. New Zealand, 3.2 coming in, it looks like, around the Alpine Fault. I'm not seeing any further activity up north, around North Island. So let's see what's going on at the GeoNet Quake site. Gives us a little overview of what's going on. 3.2 North Island. Let's see, where was that one down south here? Doesn't look like there's a lot popping off, just some very small microquakes here. And quite a few deleted events. There's that 3.2 South Island, New Zealand area, coming in about 66 kilometers deep, southwest of the Milford Sound region. No major movement to report there across the New Zealand area currently. The volcanic drums here shows us fairly calm conditions, not a whole lot of activity at any of these listed volcanoes. The Big Island of Hawaii, typical activity popping off here around Pahala. No major or unusual earthquake activity currently there on the Big Island. Up north into the Alaska region, about the same. A little bit of swarming kicking off around the Trident volcano. This one was coming in last night, a little bit popping off there this morning as well. Some very small microquakes being reported around that Trident area. Pacific Northwest, a little bit of activity here and there. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier showing just a slight bit of earthquake activity this morning. And let's go ahead and check out the volcanic activity into the Pacific Northwest. By the way, tremor activity, 238 epicenters of tremor yesterday. We'll check out earthquake activity here in Northern California in just a second. Volcanic seismicity around Mount Rainier. Of course, quite a bit of snow up there. And sometimes we'll see ice quakes popping up on the seismographs, but we'll see what we have here today. Looks like around the Camp Sherman area of Mount Rainier. And I believe that's some wind events as well, making that type of signature. Really not seeing any type of earthquake activity. There's a couple specks here, but then again, some of these spikes here could be, again, they call them ice quakes. They give a little signature through the seismogram, and it picks it up as a very sharp spike. And there's actually a whole article in regards to that. I'll have to see if I can find that. But as far as general earthquake activity goes, not a whole lot there across the region. Northern California, we're seeing all that tremor activity. We're still seeing a little bit of activity kicking up here this morning and overnight into the Northern California area. The latest one, 3.2, 17 kilometers deep into the Cascadia subduction zone. Now remember that tremor activity occurring. Well, this was a total tally since the first. Let me bring up the most recent map from yesterday. Remember this activity here, down dip. It's about 45 kilometers deep underneath this land here of Northern California. But there's a lot going on down there between the North American plate and the Juan de Fuca plate that sits over here to the west. This whole area's this plate system is being shoved down underneath the North American plate subduction zone. They do produce some of the largest earthquakes in the world. And this one here, the Cascadia, a couple different ranges, 8.7 to 9.2 estimated. But either way, either of those magnitudes would do some major damage out here. But still, tremor and earthquake activity continuing here at the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust zone. Continue to watch that. It's obviously showing quite a bit of activity here. All right, into a little bit further south into Northern California. You got the geysers popping off here across the area. Now these are some hydrothermal plants down here injecting raw sewage into the heated surface below, and they utilize that whole process to create energy to power some homes around the Bay Area of San Francisco. It's scattered out and about. You can see a lot of these facilities here. Yeah, there's quite a few of them out here scattered about. I'll cover that quite a bit. But there's a lot of earthquake activity popping off there currently. One little earthquake around Concord, it looks like, coming in yesterday afternoon time period. Southern California got a little spotty activity down south around the Salton Sea. No major swarms being reported. Latest quake shows a 1.3, just on the Brawley seismic zone and just shy of the San Andreas Fault there. One little earthquake here off the San Jacinto Fault Zone near the Rancho Cucamonga area, Colton area, 1.2. Texas and Oklahoma area got a little odd earthquake here. Goodness, that was a low flyover. A 2.0 coming in southeast of San Antonio. Now, this one here is about 7.5 kilometers deep into an area. I'm sure there's quite a bit of gas fields and oil fields out here. There's a whole bunch of them. Quick glance at the satellite view. We're looking for these white little checkered boxes here. Those are, well, a lot of wastewater injection disposal wells and gas operations very close by. Looks like there's some older ones out here as well where that two-pointer struck late last night, super early this morning. Only a 2.0 showing up currently. Oklahoma, the rest of the region looks fairly quiet. Seeing a little increase, though, of activity yesterday around the New Madrid seismic zone. 2 earthquakes of similar magnitude, 1.5. And also over here around the Georgia area, 2.1 coming in early this morning. So slight little uptick out around the eastern section of the states. But overall, I'd say it's about average. Not too much going on. Around the Puerto Rico area, a couple smaller quakes, and also a 4.6 here northeast of the Cruz Bay, U.S. Virgin Islands area. We've been getting quite a bit of earthquake activity up here over the past month. Let me bring up the past 30 days of, we'll just go 2.5 and above. And this is definitely above background levels here around the Puerto Rico Trench. Of course, down south, we did see that lone earthquake, a 6.2 with no aftershocks. I find that kind of hard to believe. But either way, definite uptick in deeper movement here around the Puerto Rico Trench and north here of the Virgin Islands area. Might want to watch this. This region does see some large earthquakes and might be pointing to something. South America area, a couple small quakes here in the 4 range, somewhat deep into the Peru-Chile Trench. Latest one shows a 4.3. The Chile area, just about 3 o'clock in the morning, 118 kilometers deep. All right, space weather activity. Quick glance here. Everything looks fairly calm conditions here. There's not a whole lot going on currently. We're looking at quite a few sunspots across the visible disk here of the Earth-facing side. But, wow, these are just looking fairly minimal. There's not a whole lot of instability or growth with these sunspots, so therefore minimal activity at best for any flaring. These guys still have a 99% chance for a C flare, 25% chance for an M flare, X flare at 5%, but I think that's just a little bit on the elevated side. Just my 2 cents by looking at the regional spots there. No major coronal holes facing us. We do have 72. It's going to be this area right here, it looks like. Getting ready to rotate into the Earth view directly. And that may amplify just slightly a little bit of conditions here in a few days once the charged particles reach the Earth from that coronal hole. But overall, things are a little on the quiet side here on the sun currently. Alrighty, quick glance here at the weather here along the west coast. For those hoping for some more rain coming in, well, we got chances of rain coming in. No major setups. We've got a couple different cold systems coming down straight out of the north. These are normally dry systems. There is a lot of cold air coming down, but it looks like we'll get some snow up in the higher elevations, but minimal precipitation amounts for the interior Northern California area. Up until about the 3rd or 4th of February, this is actually going to be the 2nd and 3rd with that UTC time. We got a little system coming in off the Pacific that's going to bring a little bit more substantial rainfall into the valleys and snow up into the mountain ranges. little bit warmer system here coming in from the west like that. And then back behind that, looks like we got a little period of activity coming in. Even more rain for Southern California. I know they got some tremendous amounts of snow up around Mammoth Mountain. And, of course, all these areas could use some further snowfall and rainfall, as well as up here in Northern California as well. But looks like a pretty good system coming in around the 8th of February. It's got some nice flow and a little bit of associated moisture with that. And that appears to be an ongoing deal for a little bit. Looks like this only goes out to about the 12th of February. And the models are hinting towards a much stronger system here with some further impressive rainfall rates and super high snowfall rates into the coast range here of Northern California. So we're not done with winter, and that is a good thing. Believe it or not, the 15 inches of rainfall that I picked up here in Northern California from December and January. Well, it's been relatively dry here for a week or so now, but the first couple weeks of January, 15 inches of rainfall. My surface out here, the dirt's already dry. The top layer is anyway. I'm sure it's still fairly moist and wet down below, which is good for the rooting system, but yeah, the top layer is super dry already. So we could use some more rainfall. I say bring it in and give us a couple more good storm systems before it's 115 degrees here in California. I'm not looking forward to that at all. All right, folks, have yourself a good day. It's Friday, and boy, do I have a lot of quizzes and tests stacked up for me today. So I'm going to be super busy off on the side, but of course, if anything does pop off as far as any major earthquake activity or space weather event, of course, volcanic activity as well, we'll be back on here to report on that. Have yourself a great Friday, and we'll catch you guys a little bit later tonight with the update. Have a good one.